doesn't matter where you are, just take the next step. Everyone is on a different phase and a different level of life, but fear stops us to take the next step. Even if it's a small step, just take the next step. Then you will experience it.
We're here with Lourens Malan, and he was born in South Africa, trained as a minister of religion, experienced in financial planning, manufacturing, and management of a car wash business. But most importantly, Lourens is a life coach, and he is all about empowering you to step out in your purpose. He is a co-author with Pat Mesiti in the book, Pardon Me, I'm Prospering. We can see some copies on his desk right behind him. And we are going to be talking about getting that perspective, overcoming adversity, dealing with life's challenges, and coming out ahead and happy, satisfied, fulfilled, so much more. So Lourens, glad to be speaking with you.
Thank you, Robert. It's a pleasure this morning to talk to you.
Likewise. So what is your current focus and passion? What has you excited to get out of bed in the morning?
Well, currently I'm in a transition again and to help people. That's my life purpose. And just giving them perspective. I've seen a lot of people struggling with perspective, or what I also have experienced, that when you don't have perspective, you can't see tomorrow, you can't face things in life. But when you just have that tweak and you are excited. So for me, it's what is the day? What is going to happen this day? How can I help people? And what people is crossing my path? So that makes me very excited.
Fantastic. And I'm excited to unpack some of that with you. They say the word today, TODAY, stands for those other days aren't yours. So we can only focus on today. And it sounds like you are all about gratitude. And if gratitude sometimes does not come naturally, or we do not have the habit yet, or we're having difficulties, then the focus should be on not on how we can help ourselves, but how we can help others. So tell us about what you've been going through. Tell us about your struggles and triumphs.
Yes, no, I've got a lot. So well, I think one of the recent things what happened to me is that in ministry wise, I went from the one side of Australia, being called to the other side of Australia in ministry. And I was only 3 weeks in that congregation. And then suddenly something happened with my eye. It was, I picked up a virus called streptococcus. And then they took me to the hospital in Perth, 4 hours drive from the outback town. And in that stage, I was for 2 months in pain. And then eventually they decided to take out the eye. So that was a big challenge for me because I'm a man of faith. I look at certain things and now I experience something. So I had to learn to be resilient, to say, wow, that's not the end of the world. There's a lot of people going through a lot of challenges. And I had to realign myself with my purpose, my destiny, and then, and continue the journey. And then there's other struggles that happen in life, but this is only one of the things that helped me to change my perspective of things and to dealing with things in life.
So you're saying that when these bad things happen, we have two choices. We can wallow in the self-pity party and say, why did this happen to me? And just have all these negative thoughts. Or you can say, well, this is my chance. This is my opportunity to refocus and figure out what matters and make this make sense. And so when you had this kind of unexpected virus and had to remove your eye, I mean, what were you going through? What were your emotions and your thought process like?
Don't even go there. What happened is that as man of faith, you're struggling. You do some research, you look at your own life because you want to try to find out why did it happen. And in all of this, you come to a crossroad where you struggle also in faith. Can I trust God? How can I trust? How can God with everything? And in this deep valley, if I can say that, especially also from my wife's side, we've listened to a podcast of Bill Johnson that was saying when his dad was passing away, he also struggled with things, but he made a choice and say, God is good. So by making a choice at that moment, the circumstances didn't change, but making the choice and saying, God is good, it changed my attitude. It changed my way of addressing things, and it make it easy for me to go for it. So it must come from the head to the heart, and then it change your behavior.
I have been thinking about that concept for these last few months, this idea that you have a choice, right? You have a choice to be
Yeah.
happy or sad or be directionless or have focus. And also the sad reality is that it does not come automatically, right? If you sit around waiting to have your faith or waiting to be happy, it will not just happen to you. You
Mhm.
have to have a choice. But it seems like many people think that they don't have a choice, right? If they don't have these habits developed, they think that their emotions are just in control of them. So, what would you say to someone like that? If someone just has this problem of their bad thoughts or their negativity just keeps on dragging them in all these directions, how do they get that perspective and get the focus that you have?
Do you see this cup?
I see it.
Yes. Do you believe there's a handle on the other side?
I believe there is.
Can you see? No, God see.
Cannot see it.
So, and that's the point. We look at certain things, we can't see anything, and therefore we fall into a pit. But only if somebody is helping you. Sometimes you can't do it yourself. Yes, you need to stop. But if you just change your perspective, then you can see the handle. Because otherwise, you convince yourself there's no answer, there's no hope, there's no future. But there is a future, there is hope. And the moment somebody help you, or the moment you change your mind and just look at things a little bit differently, it just generate your energy and say, "Wow, I can do it. I can do it. Doesn't matter my circumstances, I can do it, and I can deal with things in the correct way."
I love that. So you don't have to wait for the information or for the proof.
No,
You can decide ahead of time and say, well, in order to get to my goal, I need to have my belief plus the action, but I can't wait for one until I get to the other because then it won't even get started. I need to just
no,
jump forward with faith. It's like you were talking earlier about like driving long distance, right? If you get in a car and you drive somewhere, you say, well, I've got a 4 hour drive ahead of me, maybe I'll get there. No, you say, I know I'll get there. It just takes me 4 hours. And then the rest is just details. And so you've dealt with your own life struggles and you have your religious background and you've helped others. Do any fun stories come to mind about other people in other situations that you've assisted?
well, I've got part of my network and connections helping people. I had one guy that's actually a good story for me. He was struggling with a lot of things in life because what happened to him is that, and it's actually emotional. I don't want to take this story away, but in his circumstances, his dad passed away in a war in where I'm coming from at the age of, I think, 4 or 5. And then his mom married again. And then the other dad was killed in the war. So he struggled a lot with the why questions. And I can understand it. I would respond the same. But for many years, he was at that stage, 49 years, he was a very angry man because he couldn't deal with life. And I was sitting with him with coaching sessions and talking things through and asking the right questions and giving perspective. So he changed from the why to the what. And that has made him a different person. That people were around him says in the past he were very uncomfortable, but now we love to talk to him. He's a very funny guy with a lot of stories, but he has changed it in a positive sense. So it's just one of the things. There's two other stories, people in ministry that were stuck and they were just starting ministry and because of circumstances or wrong understanding, they were stuck and just helping them. And today they have a flourish ministry in just helping people to take the next step and continue with life.
So just focus on the next step. You don't have to see the entire plan. Just figure out where you want to go and inch forward there. And as far as this idea you have of like don't like change the why to a what, would you say that the why does not matter or that we need to come up with a new why? If someone is just saying, why did all these things happen to me, then what should the refocus be?
The problem with the why is it will not change your circumstances because you will, the why, if you answer the why, you think it will change your circumstances. But the what is, what can I learn from this? And what is the next thing that can help me in my life journey? So I think that was the main thing for people wants the answer, but the answer will not change the circumstances. And even if they've got the answer, it will not help them. that's why, yes, it's understanding, it's good in the process why things are happening. But then I think there's other more important questions that will help you in guiding through your process.
That is
I can,
very interesting.
I can tell you another story, but um, the thing that what happened to me is that in ministry self, I was in a certain church in WA. And when COVID was kicking in, I had to make a choice to come back to Queensland, where my children is. But to make that step was a very difficult thing for me. And somebody had to guide me to make the step. I resigned. Well, I was not unhappy, but I didn't have anything to go to. But to make a step in faith, there's also something that you need to do if you trust what you are doing is the right way. So there's a lot of things, a complexity of things of helping you to make the next step. And to take the next step is sometimes an active faith, but things will fall together. Currently, we are in a ministry again here on the other side, and it's going well. Just a second. Okay, you can continue.
Okay, back in business. So this is all interesting to think about. So you're saying that many times the answer, not all the time, but many times is to just take that leap of faith. And
Yes,
if you're fearful of something, that's perhaps a sign that you should steer in that direction and look for that and take the risk, take the chance, and that you don't necessarily have to go it alone, right? Because you have
yeah,
your faith, you have your higher power, you have your support system, you can ask for others for help. And ultimately, you're the one who has to make your own decisions, but you can rely on the guidance, the advice of others. And then you're also saying that focusing too much on the why is not productive. And that's a common just misunderstanding people have, that if only I had this, if only I understood the why, my whole situation would change. And you're saying that, well, maybe you could understand it, but it won't change a thing. So what's
yes,
more productive is to focus instead on the what will I be doing now. So this is
yeah.
wonderful. You've told some stories about yourself, about people you've helped, and then just in general, in this broader humanity sense, what do you think is wrong with the world today? Like, where do you think people are stuck the most, and what do you think is not being discussed enough?
I think what people are being stuck is that circumstances change. We live in a changing world, and we are not resilient. We didn't build things in ourselves to adapt with things. We think that's the only way things can work and will work. And we've learned from the last 4 years, there's a lot of things being changing you from the outside, which you are not in control of. So the question is, how do you control what you can control? And how do you manage through things which you can't control? And I think that's the wisdom we need. And we need to ask the right questions, because if we are ask the wrong question or the wrong questions, we are stuck. And most of people are stuck. And when they are stuck, it causes anxiety, causes fear, it causes a lot of other things which just bog you down. And when you're in a hole, you struggle to get out of that. So by building in certain building blocks in your life, you can manage through things. And we have seen that in personal life. I see that in business life. I see that in family life. When people don't in advance build things in their lives, they are stuck. And sometimes somebody from the outside that just have a different perspective can help them and guide them through the process.
What I'm getting from you is that perspective equals the serenity prayer, basically, right? They say
Yeah.
there's the things that are not in your control and the things that are in your control. And what's not in your control might be 80, 90% of what's out there. And that is not worth your stress. If it's not in your control, if you can't change it, then don't focus on it as much as the things that are in your control that you can then change. And so the way that we can change these things is to take these small steps and figure out these building blocks and make a plan and be organized and have the faith of knowing that we can and will get there. And so this is all very wonderful to think about. And so in terms of your own personal development, right? We've mentioned that we're all working on things. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you are currently working on, like mentally, psychologically, emotionally? What is your current challenge?
I think my current challenge is to make the next steps in what I'm currently doing. And for myself is to prepare myself. And that's ongoing basis of preparing yourself for the next phase. So you need to empower yourself all the time. I'm always on a learning curve. I'm also learning to empower myself, because when you're going to take the next step, you will be ready. Don't wait for crisis to happen or circumstances that put you down. You just need to prepare yourself. So I'm always busy and learning and seeing and sensing what's happening in our current world situation and in my personal life, so that when things are happening, I can just manage through it.
So you're saying that there's a difference between you can either choose to be ignorant of the future, but then that's just you're guaranteed to be surprised,
Yeah.
or then there's maybe blind stress, which is just that's back to the things you can't control, is worrying about things that you can't change. But then there's this preparation, there's this learning, there's, if you're having money problems, make a budget. If you're having marriage problems, go to a counselor. If you're concerned about the future of your business, then do some forecasting, do some planning, and figure out what kinds of tasks that you can do now. That way, in the coming days and weeks, when you have that appointment or you have that meeting that you otherwise might be stressed about, then do whatever learning and research you need to do in order to minimize the stress, in order to be somewhat prepared. That way you can be at least somewhat strategic and acting instead of reacting. And so this is all, some of these things are things we've heard before, but they are reminders that we need, and other things we've heard, but they have not quite been stated in the wonderful way that you have been stating them. And so as
Mm.
far as someone wanting to find out more about you, what are you all about? What's your website, and what can someone find there?
I'm a life coach. I had all my experiences in ministry and in normal life and in personal experience. So I will not talk about just from a book or from a program from somewhere. So what you can do is you can follow me on my website. It's www.lourensmalan, and just listen to the words. I'll send the link to you. It's LOURENSMALAN.com. And I also have a Facebook page where I try to motivate people on a weekly basis by posting some positive statements. And and then I have a webinar where I give you some information and also a program where we can do a follow-up of this. Just share the vision and then help you in following through with steps that can practically help you and give you some tools to accomplish your purpose.
I love it. And if we are still always working with those same dulled out, tired out, worn out tools, then we'll have the same struggles. But if we
Yeah.
can sharpen those tools or find
Yeah.
new tools, or polish the tools off and make them good as new again, then that seems like an easier life path for all of us. And the step for that is to go to lourensmalan.com, as you spelled it out, LOURENSMALAN.com, and then check out that Facebook page. And then as far as this motivational advice that you've seen and posted, do you have a personal favorite these days? Do you have a favorite motivational quote or lesson that comes to mind?
I have on my email a statement. Doesn't matter where you are, just take the next step. Because everyone is on a different phase and a different level of life, but fear stop us to take the next step. And even if it's a small step, just take the next step, and then you will experience something.
Take the next step. Great advice. Even if it's the smallest step, it's a step further than you would be. And if you're not sure what step to take, then a logical next step is to fire up your web browser and go to
Yeah.
lourensmalan.com. And then there will be some interesting and helpful and valuable resources there for you to jump into some of that learning, put a label on a few things, make sense of some of these things that you've been struggling, including the fear, so that way you can blast through your goals, get to what you want. lourensmalan.com. Lourens, it's been very fabulous and wonderful speaking.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, mate.